Okay, now for the next jobs, I'm going to do the truss rod adjustment and check the frets. These are the tools that you're going to need. Okay, some of these tools are not essential, but the more you've got, the easier the job's going to be. Now, the top left, we've got a tuner. That's essential to tune the guitar straight to pitch before you start checking the truss rod and the neck. Okay, you also use a capo at the first fret, which I'll explain. The fret rocker is just to check the frets to see if there's any high frets. You've got gauges there that are available on Amazon, and a not straight edge there that used to check the action on the guitar as well, but they're not essential either. And there's some Allen keys there, which are metric Allen keys, because I happen to know this guitar has a metric nut. Some have got imperial, so you do need a set of those as well. And some screwdrivers. And again, I happen to know that the truss rod cover is a Phillips screwdriver. So I've got two sizes there, depending on how big the screws are. Okay. Now, these, like I say, it's not essential to have all of these. Okay, you can actually do the truss rod adjustment with just a simple few tools. Now, to do a truss rod adjustment, these are the tools that are essential. Screwdrivers, a tuner, tools to adjust the rod itself, and you can use something as simple as a business card. So, let's get on with checking the neck and adjusting it. Right, now the first thing to check on the guitar, as with this one, is the truss rod. Now, I already know that this truss rod needs adjusting. This is too flat. Normally, you can take the guitar, it's difficult for me to do, Phil, and if you look down it at this edge, and then you'll see round here that it should have a slight bow to it. Now, this is dead straight, which is too much for me. It needs some relief. Now, there are a couple of ways you can do this. The way I do it is I've got this tool. So you just rest that on the fret. Be careful if you get one of these tools. And then you count to the 7th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you'll find there's a gap there. So what you do with this, at this 10mm, you can get these at cars, automobile places, but you know, you can get them online at Amazon as well. So just count 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and then you test it at the 7th fret. And you make sure that's on flat, and see that doesn't even go through. So it needs some adjustment, just so this slips under with a little gentle bit of scrape to it, but that won't even go under. Now that obviously is the tool. If you haven't got a tool, there's a way you can do it. You just need a capo. You capo the 1st fret like that, and then you hold either the last fret if it's on a Strat, or where it meets the body. You just hold that fret down with this finger, and then again at the 7th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you test the relief just by touching that string. See, it's hardly moving, and you need a bit more than that. That's more or less on the fret. So it's too much, it's up too much. That could even have a bit of bow. This one hasn't, it's just dead straight. So you need the relief just so it ducks down a bit, just so that's got some movement. Otherwise it's going to hit the string, as you can hear, and just buzz all the time. Okay, so that's a good way of doing it. If you haven't got a capo, you can put this on the beach. This should really be done in a playing position. I'll do all this in the playing position, but it's hard to film like that. So you hold the 1st fret with your finger. Okay, hold this fret where it meets the body. And again, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's your fret you want. You just tap it with your finger. See that? And it's hardly moving. But that's what you do. Hold the 1st fret here. Hold the fret where it meets the body. And then the 7th fret, just tap it. And there's hardly any movement, so it needs to move. They're the 3 ways you can test it. The truss rod is up here, under this cover. Make sure you got the correct tool. Okay, and you do tight this way, clockwise, if you're looking down the neck this way. Clockwise to tighten, anti-clockwise to loosen. Okay, so when I adjust it, I'll film that bit for you. Okay, then the next stage to adjust this truss rod is take the bell housing off. Let's get my glasses on. I can't see a thing without my glasses. Getting old. This will reveal the truss rod adjusting nut. Wow, There's not a nut in it, it's an Allen key, which is very rare for one of these guitars. So now you have to find the right size Allen key. Now make sure it is the right size, otherwise you will cause damage. So I don't think it's going to be on this tool, so I'm going to get my Allen keys out. 1 second and I'll be back. Right, I've got my Allen keys out and I found this one, which is very small. One of these, unusual size, but like I say, you will get unusual sizes, but that fits in there fine. Make sure there's not a lot of play because you don't want to damage it. Now what I do is I loosen the strings. Now I've already done that, but before you adjust it, obviously test it, you bring it up to pitch, up to tune with your tuner. When it's all in tune, that's when you test the relief in the neck. And then if you want to adjust it, release the tension from the neck, so just down tune. Okay, and then that saves any damage coming to the guitar, because you don't want it under too much tension when you move that truss rod. Okay, so after you tuned them anyway, and what I'm going to do is just move it slightly, just a turn at a time. A little bit goes a long way, so just push it just to there. It should move quite freely, and then you bring it up to tune again and check it. So I'm going to bring it up to tune. I won't bore you with that. Right, that's all tuned up again. Now I'll try and move this so I can show you again. Now it's all up to tune. Now I'm going to put this across again. I'll say if you use these, be careful because they're really easy to scratch your fretboard. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And there you go. It's just a slight scrape. There you go. And that is exactly what you want. Probably a little tiny bit more. Okay, so like I say, if you're going to do it the other way with the capo with your finger, hold your finger on, press it down, and the 7th fret. And that's got a bit of a bounce to it now. Do just a touch more. So what you do, I think you get it on it. Again, detune. Some people say you don't need to do this, but always careful, especially if it isn't your guitar. Back in, truss rod again, ready, you loosen it again, just gently, it's a lot easier to move that time, just enough there. That's all you need to do. Take it out, and then again, tune it up. Again, you don't want to watch me do this, a bit boring. Right, that's fully in tune now. Let's test this again. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In here. Just touches. I always test one next to it for some reason. But yeah, just touches. That is absolutely spot on. Again, the test, hold. That's it, it's got a nice bounce to it now. Not too much, not too little. So that's the truss rod adjusted. That's done. So it's as simple as that. Next thing there will be to test the individual frets. Now this is really difficult for me to film, but I'm going to try my best for you. I'll zoom in a moment. You've got the capo at the 1st fret, and you hold your finger where the neck joins the body. Okay, and then there's the 7th fret. So you push down on the 7th fret to see how much leeway you've got on it. See how much bounce? Now that's enough bounce for me. This is a common setup. You may like it lower. Some people like it higher. Okay, but this is like a common setup, which I would set up for a guitar that I'm selling or for a customer if they haven't asked me to do a specific setup, like I want a low action or I want a slightly higher action. Okay, this is just like a midway, a common one. And the best way to check this, if you've got nothing else at hand, if you haven't got the proper tools, let's try and zoom in for you. There we go. Now you hold it, like I say, where the guitar meets the body, the neck, and the 7th fret, which is there. And you can test it just with a business card. And that's just my wife's florist business card. All business cards are more the same size, and you just push that under the fret, and you'll notice it just touches the top of the string. Just touches. Okay, when we first done this guitar, when I first done it, the action was real down here, and I had to really push the card in. So that's too much. You know, the neck's too far this way, like up or like beveled. Okay, you need a bit of a gap there. So the best way, business card, 7th fret, just push it through, just till you got a little bit of drag, just so it just touches the bottom of that string. Okay, I hope that's come out for you. But like I say, it's very difficult to film with the rudimentary equipment I've got. Okay, so that's all you do. The 7th fret, that's 3, 5, 7. Okay, so 7th fret, hold it at the neck and just adjust it till, if you slip a business card under it, okay, it just touches the bottom of the string. For the next job, where I'll check the levels of the frets, I'm going to use what's called as a fret rocker. Now this is quite a handy tool to buy, because you can position this over 3 frets, which I'll show you when we start, and then rock it backwards and forwards slightly to see if there's a high fret. Now this has got 3 different sides, 4 actually, just so you can move it around as you get further down the neck towards the bridge. You'll need to just turn it, just so it just covers 3 frets all the time. Then you'll go to that one, and then lastly you'll be on this little one. So it's a really handy tool to have. It's not essential, but it is really. Okay, you can do this with a credit card. Okay, but I wouldn't really advise it. You want something that's dead straight. Be careful with the cheap ones of these, because they're very sharp. But all of them can damage your fretboard or your frets. Okay, if it's dropped on a fretboard, it can damage it. And sometimes these are sharp and can make grooves in your frets. So just be careful and rock it gently. Okay, especially if it's somebody else's guitar. But all guitars should be treated with care. Okay, but let's get on with this next job. Okay, so all I've done off camera is taken off the strings, because that's boring to watch. You don't want to watch that. I've removed all the strings, and now I'm going to use the fret rocker just to check the frets. I've got a pen and a piece of paper here. The pen's got 2 uses. It's to mark the fret where it's high, okay, and it's to write down what fret it is. So if we just start off up here, and you start off at the bottom of the fret, and this you use the longest side for, because it's got to cover 3 frets. So you cover 3, and then you try and rock it, and there's no rocking. Okay, because all the time what you're really doing is checking this middle fret. Okay, if there's rocking to it, you know that middle fret's high. So nothing there, and you check it all the way up. Take your time doing this. There's an ever such a slight rock there, but it's minimal in there. Okay, so now you know it's the 2nd fret, and what you do is you just do a gentle black line over the top of that fret from where it starts rocking. Okay, so here there's no movement, no movement, no movement, no movement, no movement, and there's the movement, just there. Okay, so it starts there, just there. So all you do, all to the tip of the fret. That's all you do, because that gives you the mark that you need to file down to make it level. Now you move along one fret at a time. Make sure again you're only covering 3 frets. And that's fine, that fret. So it's only the 2nd fret so far, so just take a mark just in case for some mad reason it rubs that mark off. Next one. Yeah, always remember to count your frets. It's going to be tedious to watch this, but it is good that you watch it so you can see exactly what's going on. Again, soon you'll start running out of room for this to fit across 3 frets, and that's when you change it round to a different angle. So start from the bottom. Make sure you're only ever on 3 frets. Okay, so that's that one done. Now you'll have to turn it to this one. See, in its shorter scale. Then again, it's across 3 frets. Again, moving down 1 fret at a time. And this is much better than I expected it to be, but then I did expect it to be very good up near the nut end, which is here, because they're all set up and aimed at selling to beginners. As professional guitarists either wouldn't buy a guitar like this or would know how to set their guitars up. This is a bit of a job that's beyond just setup though. Now again, I've nearly run out of room. This will be the last fret I can use this rocker on before I have to turn it again. Again, there's the little rock there. So while we've got it there, just mark there. You'll find once it's, oh, see, yeah, that's all right there. So it's just the middle. So it stops there. So there's the 2 dots, join them up with a line, and that's the area you need to file. Sorry, that's the area you need to file down, which is at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th fret. So right, 10th fret. Now we've got to turn this again and use this side this time. And again, start at the bottom. That needs doing as well. See, as we get further down, they get worse. So like I say, I'm not surprised. They don't spend the time and just come back until it starts rocking again. That's it. And put a dot there, see? And then again, join that line. They don't spend the time doing all these frets. See, I reckon all these frets are going to need doing now from down here. In all honesty, it's so slight. It's so slight, the rocking, that if you was a beginner or in general, I wouldn't bother doing them. But I just want to show you properly how to do them. So, and I'll probably be selling this on, and I want it to be right if I'm selling it. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th fret, 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th. 12th, 13th and 14th fret. So again, this is going to be the last time I can use this side. This one's high as well. So again, this is all the way along. Sixteenth fret. Again, turn it. And we're now on the thinnest edge. Sorry, I'll keep talking that in my mouth. This is on the thinnest edge now. You're getting to the end. Now, I'm quite surprised they're not really bad up this end, because beginners would never really play up here, so they just don't bother at all. But it's quite good. Like I say, none of them are bad. It's got a slight rock. It's all the way up. Ah, yeah, they are getting. That's quite tough. These ones are quite high, but not for long. Still alright. I'll tell you what, overall, this guitar is fantastic. I'll give that address all the way along. You know. These are quite rough on all these. Some of these will need fret dressing as well, I've noticed as I've gone down there. But, so where are we? 16th fret. 13th, 14th, 15th. Where are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th fret. We've got the 2nd fret, yeah, 10th fret, 11th, 12th fret, which is right, 13th fret, 14th fret, 16th fret, 19th fret, 20 and 21. Okay, so there, what we've got to look at. And again, like I say, all it is use this. If I show you on a high fret, use this and just keep it straight and then rock, and you can hear it, where it's just, there's a little gap either side that goes one back side, so that says this is high. Okay, so you just do that and you keep rocking it along until it stops rocking, and then you know the area which is high. Okay, so we've marked them all now, and I'll show you a tool that you can use to just take off the excess. Okay, always tape your board up, your fretboard, okay? Otherwise you could scratch it. Now this file I've got actually doesn't touch the fretboard, but just to make sure, I always tape it. So what I'm going to do now is I'll tape the fretboard off, and I'll show you how to start doing that. Now for the next part of this job, I'm going to use these tools. This is a crowning file. This really is just to round off your frets, because when you take or level your frets, usually they need a lot of leveling. So you use a flat file, and then frets can't be flat. They need to be rounded at the top to get the best, you know, pitch for your strings. Okay, so that's what that does. It rounds it off. But these are so ever so slightly raised that I'm going to use this file. It'll take just enough off, just so it's nice and flat. Not flat, but level. Okay, and this won't flatten the fret. It will just leave it with a nice beveled edge. Sometimes you have to rock it from left to right just to get the, you know, the roundedness correct. But we'll show you that as we go. And tape. Okay, it's just decorator's tape. It's low tack, so it won't make any lasting impressions on your fretboard or take off any lacquer if it's a maple fretboard. Okay, so that, and then obviously a smaller one for the smaller frets, and these are called fret rubbers or fret erasers. Okay, so these are different grit just to polish it up at the end, and I'll also use a cream, but I'll show you at the end when I actually dress it. Okay, but for now I'm just going to take the unevenness out of them frets using this file. Okay, but you will need the fret rocker still, because you have to keep checking that you've actually done it. But first things first is I'll tape up the fretboard, and I'll show you these tools and how to use them as and when I use them. Now, first things first, we're going to start taping the fretboard. Now, where it's sporadic, you need to be able to check the frets once you've filed them. So just tape off the fret that you actually want to do first. So I use that tape there to tape it off. Use another bit there, hold it under and tape that there. Now all you do is you take your file. I'm going to do it a fret at a time. So you take your file, you look where you've marked, and it's just this part, and you get your file on, and you slowly start filing that part of the fret that was high, and you'll see it. Just, you feel it taking it off. You do little bits at a time. Okay, remember, you can't put none back on, but you can take more off. So you do it, and then you check it. And look at that. That's just a little bit more here. As I said, it's so slight. Just here at the edge. Still some to go. Still quite a bit to go. Just remember, just take it slowly. Just push in that area. That's getting there. Honestly, try not to be impatient and go like the clappers on it, because you'll be sorry if you take too much off. It's getting there. I wouldn't have thought it would need taking off. That's so close. That's it. And that's not rocking no more. See, it happens all of a sudden. It's just that part there. Just that little bit, just won't go. Maybe I'll use the flat level of this. Continued. That's it, nothing. Perfect. That's it, there's no movement at all now. So that's that fret done. Now this will dull up the fret and obviously scratch the fret, which is where these fret erasers come in. So after you finish with the crowning file, start off with the roughest one. These are not strong enough to take anything off your fret. Okay, so you just do that, this will just buff them up. Use that one. Then you go down to 400 grit. Give that a good go. About 10 times normally I'll go around them, but just keep checking it. And then the last but not least, 1000. And again, I'm going to fret dress all these anyway, but this is just to take out any of the scratches. The edge there is a bit scratched up. That's where we've done most of the work. So just go back over with the 180. That's much better. Then again to the 400. There you go. And then finally the 1000. Lovely. Now that's perfect. Okay, that's that fret finished. So that's that one done. So then all you do is you move on to your next one. And again, you tape up your fret. And if you find, like me, that that's too wide still, this is when the thinner stuff comes in. Remember, you tape up either side. So tape. Make sure it sits below the fret. This is why we mark these frets, see? So you can see exactly where you need to file to get it level. Otherwise, if you file the whole fret, it will just be level there and then it'll be out on the next fret, and use a permanent marker so you don't just rub it off with your finger. There you go, and there's that one that's taped off. You can take this tape off when you're finished. Just so you know that's definitely done. Okay, and again, before you start, get the fret rocker, just check again. That's it. And again, I'll show you. Get your crowning file. Like I say, if it was really bad, then you would need a level file. Just take it off and it'd be a lot quicker. But these are not that bad, even though that one was a bit tricky. So all you do again, you file where your line was. And then you check it again. Okay, but I'm not going to bore you and show you every file I do and every fret I do. Okay, we'll come back when some of them are done. Okay, now just finishing off this fret again. Always take off the metal, otherwise it'll just not see you. There's just a little touch here now, right on the edge there, so. That's it. That's it. And again, that's done. So now, after the crowning file, 180 across the fret. Okay, just in the area that you did. It doesn't matter if you hit the rest of it, like I say. It's only going to take off surface scratches. Because this is all the crowning file will leave, which is why I use it. Because if you use a flat file, then you'll find it leaves deeper scratches on the whole of the fret. So then down to the 400. That's looking lovely. Down to the 1000 to end with. And like I say, I will fret dress it all anyway. There you go. Test it once more. Make sure that's clean. And that's perfect. So another fret done. So take off the tape. And move on to the next one. And I'm going to come back when this is done. I think you've seen enough. Like I say, just tape up your fret, make sure it goes under. You'll find yourself buying lots of this tape if you do lots of it. It's worth its weight in gold in this tape, because like I say, if you do slip, you will cause problems. Okay, now this one here, where I've got quite a few frets to do, you might as well tape up the whole lot, because it's below the frets, and you'll be able to still check them for their level, because you won't be touching the fretboard. So we'll keep going. Because you can do one after the other now. Another important thing to mention that I didn't mention is make sure these frets are not seated high. which means they're in the grooves. I mean, there's no gaps under these. I've checked all that. I didn't, you know, just check there's no gaps underneath them. If there is gaps underneath them, you can get a mallet and just bang it down like a rubber mallet or a fret mallet. You might as well buy, they're only about £5. Just tap them down if they go. If not, then you don't really want to get into the stage where you're removing frets and re-gluing them. That's a bit too technical. So either take it to a luthier or just leave them as they are and file them down. But really, if the frets are that bad, they will need a professional on them. And this is just little bits that I'm showing you that you can do yourself at the end of the day. Again, right under the fret. All these tools, I will have a link to them in the description so you can order them yourself. None of them are very expensive. You can go spend silly money on luthier tools, which is fair enough because there's a lot of tools out there that make jobs easier, but DIY tools are not that expensive, and you don't need top of the range stuff just to do jobs like this. It just doesn't justify the money. The other thing I want to say is when we get down to, if I can just turn that camera a bit, cover the pickups, because it is metal filings that are coming off these frets, and they will, as you get lower, stick to your frets because they're magnets, and it really will mess up your pickups. So just get the big tape, right down to the body, and tape them. Leave nothing to chance. Like I say, this is such low tack, it won't harm the body of the guitar at all, your paintwork or your lacquer. But like I say, don't take any chances. I don't know if you can see that one. Look at that round me up. Tape them up completely. Okay, now I'm going to continue taping these frets, and I'll come back to you more or less when I've done there. There's no point me keep showing you the same thing. So as soon as I've done that, I'll come back and I'll show you what's next on the agenda. Okay, now I've finished that. These are all level now. I've washed it, well, wiped it all down with a cloth. Okay, the next job I'm going to do is polish the frets. Now, like I say, once you're finished, just go over them one more time. Just check that nothing's rocking. It's all fine. Now what I do is I use quite a powerful pair of glasses. Just these ones here. Excuse my phone. That I picked up from Poundland. Now, they're far too strong to use for anything else other than to look at frets. So like a ×3, like the strongest ones they do, just to see if there's any scratches on them. Okay, now every time I've done the frets, I use the 3 fret rubbers. Okay, and you start off with the strongest fret, like I said, the strongest grip, which is 180. Pass it over about 10 times, 20 times, just rubbing it over the fret, and then you move down. Okay, to the grip, or you move up. So you start off with 180, which is the roughest, 400, and then end on 1000. Okay, that I tend to find does wonders for all of them. There is other ones you get 2000 strain. You can keep going and getting really buffed up. That I tend to think that's enough for me, really. But like I say, you can go right up to 2000 and 3000. I've seen them out, but I think that's a bit overkill, especially on a guitar like this. But anyway, so what I then tend to do, once I've done all of them, which I have now, I just go over them lightly with the 1000, just to buff up slightly. And like I say, there's not enough to flatten these frets because they're not strong enough. Now just go over, just gently, with 10 seconds each. Okay, they're not even enough to scratch the fretboard, but if you are worried, the 1000 isn't, the other grits are. Okay, so if you're going to use the 180 or the 400 grit, I would tape up, just to be on the safe side. But the 1000 really is just a polishing one. So, like I say, just a slight rub over, just to get out any scratches. But I'll do it with these glasses on because then I can see if there's any scratches on the fret at all. Because sometimes it's just the marks from the filings that can be left behind. And you'll catch the fretboard, but don't worry, just look, wipe it with your finger and it'll go. So here, as a prime example, there is a scratch. So with the 180, very gently, this again is not enough to flatten the fret. That's it. Now it's got rid of the deep scratch. Then you come down with a 400. Unfortunately, I can't film the scratch. Well, I can't there anyway, it's gone. But I mean, and then with the 1000. That's it. As I said, these frets were much better than I thought they was. A bit tricky up that end in the end. I should have really used a flat file on them last ones. But that's a whole other video, which I will do one day. Because that will flatten the fret, and then that means you've got a recrown and everything. But that's a recrowning file anyway. Okay, so that's all done, but this file is fantastic. A crowning file, that's all you need really for minor adjustments. It's a diamond one, so it lasts for years. I mean, you'll do loads of guitars, especially if you're not doing it for a living. If you're just doing your own guitars, it lasts you forever. It's about £25–30, but it will last you forever. Okay, but like I say, links to all the tools I'll put at the bottom. So that's that done now. So just wipe off any excess, and then I'll show you what else I use. I use this. Now this is fantastic. All you do, you just a little bit on a cloth. Again, this will last you years if you don't do it for a living. Just a little bit on the cloth like that. See that? And you just dab it on the fret. This won't harm your fretboard, so you don't have to, and you just rub it. And this polishes your frets right up. I mean, these frets are good anyway. But there is a video I've done where I restored an old Gibson Studio. And I thought I was going to have to fret dress it. And all it took was this stuff. And a bit of a fret rubber. But this was fantastic. And it brought it right up. Now all you do is just rub that in. And again, it's not strong enough to take anything off the fret other than the dirt and the grime. And then you find a dry bit of the cloth and you buff it. And you just do that on every fret. See the black that comes off it? So again, just a little dab. A little bit goes a real long way with this stuff. And then rub it. Rub it. Get it right in there. And then buff it with a dry part or a bit with none of the cream on. There you go. Just buff it. Give it a good buff. just a little bit like that. Dab it on. See, this is much the same as, sorry, excuse my phone. This is much the same as writing down what fret needed leveling and marking it with that pen. But you write them down as well, because once you start filing, the pen mark obviously disappears. And if you look away to have a break, because you can puff you out, if you look away, you forget what fret you're on. And then you end up filing frets that don't need fretting. So, don't need filing, should I say. So it's always best to write it down and then keep an eye on it. This don't really matter, because if you miss a fret, then you'll see it at the end. And if not, a fret gets a double dose, it ain't going to do it no harm. Last few. Let's get a bit dirty now, so find a cleaner bit. And the last little couple. Like I say, it doesn't hurt the fretboard at all, but best not to leave it on there for ages. Just the lid. That's all of them done. There you go. Now find a dry part of the cloth and make sure you get right to the bottom of the fret. You'll see it'll collect at the bottom. You just get your nail, that's it, and just rub right in there. Leave it that side, do it with your thumbnail. Side, that's it. That's it. Check all them. And then give them a good rub. See, the shinier the frets are, more lovely them bends will be. And they'll be easier to perform as well. Nice new strings, it'll be gliding across the fretboard. So there you go. And they look lovely and shiny. I don't know whether that's come out very well, but they're lovely now. I'm going to take you off the tripod. And give you a close-up of them. There you go. Hopefully you can see those. Frets lovely and shiny. And they've all been levelled. It's all perfect now. A bit hard to get into focus some of it. I'm going to put you back on the tripod now. Okay. Now, what's left doesn't really need it. It's quite good, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to get some lemon oil. This just finishes the job off lovely. That's the neck and the fretboard totally finished with. All we've got to do now is just get some of this, just a real little bit, because it's quite well conditioned, that fretboard anyway. It's not that dry. But just smallest amount, see that on the rag, just the smallest amount of lemon oil, and just touch it on. Just to clean that fretboard up. This is good guitar maintenance as well. Give it a good clean, a good polish. See that? Leave that on for a little while. Again, people moan about lemon oil, say it's dodgy, but there's no lemon in it, it's just a smell. It's not actually made of lemons, so it won't harm your fretboard at all. And again, these stuff is a big payout at the start, you know, polish and everything, but if you're doing your own guitars, you know, they last you years, this stuff. And if you're doing your friends' guitars for them, just get them to chip in a bit, you know, for whatever you use, and a bit of beer money. But I'll just leave that to rest for a little while and soak in. And then the next job will be to restring it and do the action. What I might do is take these pickups out in a minute, just have a look at what they are. I'm just intrigued as to what they are. So what I'll do, like I say, I'll leave that for a little while and then I'll just rub it in with a cloth. Just wipe off the excess, not that there'll be a lot. Otherwise it gets a bit oily, a bit slimy. So you just wipe it off like that. I've only put a real little bit on anyway, just to give it a clean and a shine. If it's very dry, I leave it to soak for about 10 minutes, just so it gets right in. I'll use a bit more. Leave it to soak for 10 minutes and then wipe it off. And if it's still looking a little bit dry, I'll do it again. Sometimes I'll leave it overnight, not on. I'll wipe it all off and then see how it soaks in, and then do it again the next day. But that's if it's really bad. You only really get that on second-hand guitars that have been just left for years with nothing. So there's that. You can get it on the body, it won't hurt. Okay, so that's that. The fretboard, the neck is done. So what I'll do now is I'll set the camera up just so I can take these pickups out and see what they are. Now take this tape off. Even though it's really low tack, still be really gentle. You never know. Like I say, always be careful of guitars, especially when they're not yours. You'll find the silliest little things can go wrong and cause all manner of problems, all types of problems. So take off, and now what we'll do is we'll lay a cloth over. See that? Just to protect the guitar body, and then we'll unscrew these pickups just to have a look at what they are. The height for them are set perfect, I think, but you can adjust that when we come to a sound check. Like I say, I think it's the pots that are the problem on this guitar. But just undo them 4 screws. Into one side, and let's have a look what they are. And there we have one out. There you go, and they're just cheap ceramic pickups. See them? Nothing special, just cheap ceramics. There's the Chinese writing in there. That has been cut right up, look at that. And that's another piece of wood in there. I don't know whether you can see that. Let's take you off the tripod again. Here we go. And you can see there, that's layers of wood. It's probably where it's just been routed though. No Chinese writing. There's the wiring there from the switch. It's all quite neat though. There's the neck. And there's the pickup, which is just like I say, a ceramic pickup. Some of the pickups I've had in Chibson's have got Epiphone right on them. But I don't know whether they are Epiphone or whether they're just fake Epiphone. I would think they were fake Epiphone. But yeah, Epiphone anyway. But yeah, that's got no markings on. And as you can see, that's just a cheap ceramic pickup. But they are quite good, so they are getting better, these cheap. But I've seen a lot of cheaper ceramic pickups and other guitars that are very good. But there you go, that's the pickup. Let's put it back on the tripod, and I'll screw this one back in and get the next one out. That's very neat in there. So just screw that back on. There's actually 2 holes here where they've done it wrong first time, and they've had to re-drill. They've corrected it. They're the sorts of things you'll find just where they're making things fit. So I'm sure you don't want me to see me screwing the thing up. I'll come back when I'm on to the next one. There we go, I've unscrewed that one. This hasn't got a lot of room in it, but yeah, very neat wiring. But that is two different bits of wood slabbed on top of one another, so that is not solid mahogany. It's two slabs. It could be, I don't know, I don't know, it's hard to tell. I'm not great on my woods, but that's definitely not a solid slab. That's two put together. So, I'll say, cheap ceramic pickups, but they sound alright. You could change the pickups later on down the line. But for now, those pickups sound alright. I think it's the pots that need changing. That's what's more important, to be honest, I would say. It's all been routed quite neatly. The wiring's very neat. I've seen much worse on these. They seem to have got their act together a lot. They seem to be putting more and more into them. But I think they're going up in price more and more, to be honest. And I think soon they're going to be at a level where it's not worth buying them. You literally are just buying Gibson on the neck, on the headstock, which is a bit sad. Really. There you go. So that's all put together. So the next job will be to put some new strings on and to set the action and intonation. So we'll come back and do that in a moment.